Hi, my name is Catherine, and I have the idea for a long time of talking about my experience and the things I deal with over time as a way of helping others that maybe are going through the same thing. So, what I want to tell slightly and not for a long time so I don't get people tired. It's about narcissistic abuse. That is something that I think many people deal with it, but sometimes we don't know that we are dealing with narcissistic abuse. So I'm just gonna go slightly over things that you can identify and can help you to know that you are maybe meeting for the first time a person who's gonna be a narcissistic person. So I think that to start with, most people who are narcissistic are gonna go behind certain traits that you could have that they know you can be the perfect person to be victimized. Let's go to say, for example, some people, it could be the opposite. People who came from a family who are very loving, who are raised in a way that they are extremely innocent. That could be a pattern that you could, because this person doesn't know about evilness in certain way, no? When you grow up with people who love you, with people with moral values, and you have not even been exposed to people who are bad, you don't know that that person is a narcissistic. That could be one thing. Or it could be the opposite. People who have raised in a family, who have been raised in a family where there's violence, or where there's emotional abuse, or where there are drugs or things like that, that are so used to be victimized that it's easy to fall in the hands of other person who's violent, because we know that narcissists, not all of them are gonna be physically abusive. It could be just emotional abuse. But I think that the first part is that they need to find the perfect person, the perfect victim. It could be a person who came from a family, like I say, who's awesome, who's a loving family, who have been raised in a family where there's moral values. In my personal situation, I was raised with overprotective parents, especially my dad, and in some way I was so used to just value people in base to what I knew as a male figure, and that was my father. So I didn't know people could be really bad or really have malicious purposes. Okay, so I will say that's one of the things. They need to find the perfect victim, because if you are a person, and I think in some ways it's good to know different people, especially when you are going into an emotional relationship, so you know what's good and what is bad. Because if you don't know that, how you gonna differentiate when you meet a person who's having some things that are not as perfect as they look? Now, the second part, when they find that person that they feel they can victimize, is gonna be, at first, they're gonna elevate you. They're gonna be they are very smart. They're gonna try to, how I would say, everything is awesome. They adore you, which is a lie. They're gonna praise you a lot. But something that I think most narcissists look for is something, because remember that narcissists, they are described as an empty shell. They are empty individuals. That means that they need to find something in you that is gonna apparently fill that void that they have. The thing is that in reality, nobody can fill a void that you have. People are not there for that. When you go into a healthy relationship, it's not to feel something that you think that you don't have. It's just to love that person. But narcissists, they are empty in some way. Many of them came, and it's not always the situation, but they could come from families that were, there was emotional neglect. Some of them are children who basically grew up by themselves in some way, not literally. Sometimes yes, you can grow with your mother and your father, but if you are neglected in some way and you need to grow faster, that could make the person more prone to be in the future a narcissistic person, because they think that to go to a certain part of my life and to grow up, I don't have that support in my house. So they begin to profit from other person to go to that point that they need to be, that they think they need to be. It's not always the situation, because we know like with other personality disorders, there's no a common thing. Everyone is different. And you can have people who are raised with all the love and still are narcissists. But in certain way, I would say, it's more common to have a narcissistic if they grow in that pattern. But still, like I say, every narcissistic, every person who has this condition is different. But they're gonna get something from you. Okay? It could be, it depends. And you're gonna find that it could be because they think they can get something from you. In my situation, I came from other country and I have a medical degree. And when this person got to meet me, I don't know why, always in their conversation, they were always talking about my career. Always. And I find that awkward, because when you know a person for the first time and you are really in love in that stage of the relation, you're not going to be so focused in what the person can give you or in their career. Yes, it's normal over time that you're going to talk about all kind of conversations and topics, including that. But it was like always he was going to that point. Always. Like, are you far ahead in your medical career? Are you planning to apply for the medical degree when you come here to the United States? So that was my situation. And that came to the conversation many times. Sometimes they like, for example, if they don't feel that they are physically very attractive, to get a person that is attractive, but not because they love that person. And remember that narcissistic could be both. They could be, it could be males and women. Even when they say that it's more common to see narcissism in males, you could have females that can be narcissistic and males could be narcissistic. But they can get, it could be, you can have a monetary value, an economic value. It could be something like I say, you are very physically attractive and they think they can feel better with that. But the reality is that all of us are imperfect. Nobody is above anything. So at the end, you are getting with someone who's putting you in a pedestal at the first time just because they think they can get something from you. And at the end, as a human being, all of us are incomplete. So you are gonna go into this relation to fill a void in someone else, which is not fair, because all of us have difficulties. All of us have good things, bad things, struggles. But you are going into a relationship that you don't even know that you're gonna be a purpose to something. And you're not gonna be loved, because narcissists don't love people. They trying to get you to get something from you, and once you don't give that purpose to that person no more, you're gonna be discarded. But that's one point I will say. From there, I think that is very essential, and I think for many of us, we don't follow our intuition. We think the intuition, why I need to pay attention to that? There were things that I would say sometimes we try to silence our inner voice that says something is not good or something is wrong. For example, like I say, at the beginning, I don't know why, but when in my situation, when this person was coming to the house and I was waiting for him, I feel really, really anxious. Because many of the conversations over time, they became more about what you did today. But it was not about what you did to know how was my day in a loving way. It was more about what you did for our common purpose, because they're gonna say to you it's a common purpose, which is not. It's not a common purpose at all. But let's go to say for him it was essential that I took the medical exam after, because I was already graduated. I was an ND, but I'm in my country. So what you did today, it was more about you are doing everything you need to pass to get us the money that I want to have, the life I want to. So it came more to that point. And I say over time, I feel the conversations were very transactional. Over time, I think most people who have victims of narcissistic abuse, they feel that they are not talking to the partner, they are talking to the boss. Are you gonna have that feeling in you? They're gonna say, well, I feel so estranged. Every time I'm talking to this person, it feels more that we are talking about a business or a transaction than about me. So that begins to make you feel a little awkward, strange. It's not a good feeling. That happened to me. The other thing is that I think that people believe that when you meet a narcissistic, they're gonna destroy you like this right away, and that's not the truth. Narcissists are really smart, because remember that they destroy your self-confidence in tiny and small ways. It could be different things, your weight, it could be small critiques. Let me give you an example, even with the clothes. For example, I'm not the type of person who really cares about what other person is wearing, or if they dress better than me or worse than me. I don't really care. So with this person was like, why you don't wear this? Or he began to compare me to other people. And over time, it was like, why you are always comparing me? You got married to me, not to other person. But it was that comparison. Or it could be trying to influence your life in the way that they want you to be. What type of career field you should have. Even, for example, I don't like to wear a lot of earrings or necklace, nothing like that. Why you don't wear this? Or it could be about simple traits that you have. Maybe even I have a birthmark, and that person even criticized that every single time. Why you have that little birthmark right there? And over time, people think that confidence got destroyed in a short amount of time. No, confidence is something that every day, if a person is complaining about you, tiny by tiny things that they begin to say and throw at you, they begin to erode your confidence. It doesn't need to be in a big way. And one day, you're gonna look yourself in the mirror and you don't even recognize the person you are. You are a sad person. It could be a depressed and anxious human being. You don't feel love. You feel strange. So I think it's important that step to follow your intuition, because even when you can survive narcissistic abuse, it can have severe side effects. Years later, you can have effects of that relation. So I will say, follow your intuition when you meet the person the first time. That's one thing. Second, if you find a person who's in some way trying to get some things from you and you perceive that, pay attention to it, because this person could be a narcissistic person. Other thing that I would say, and I'm gonna continue doing different things and different topics. It's not just gonna be about narcissistic abuse, but I want to start with this because it's very personal to me. Is to find that, like I say, first step, could you be a victim of narcissistic abuse? Like I say, you could come from a very loving family, or maybe you came from abuse. Studies have shown that people who have been victims of abuse have more tendency to get in other relationships where the person is an abuser. That's one point. Number two, like I say, follow your intuition. If this person makes you anxious, makes you nervous, may you question yourself all the time, may you feel guilty all the time about the most stupid things, but you still feel guilty about it. Small critiques. All those small critiques. One thing is that a person, from time to time, they say something to you. But if a person is criticizing you continuously and all the time, that's something that you need to look for. Okay? Lack of empathy. Like, for example, they don't care if you feel bad, if you feel sad, they don't care. Are you gonna always feel that you are drowning in the ocean, that you are alone, that when you feel bad and when you talk to this person, it's like nothing? And at first they want to intellectualize that feeling, like it's that you get sad for no reason at all. They begin to trivialize your feelings, to make you feel that your feelings don't matter. You are just trying to be dramatic. It's not being dramatic, it's being a human being. But when you begin to think to see that, and that person begins to trivialize everything that you feel, that could be narcissistic abuse. Okay? So I look for those things. And the other thing that you're gonna have with narcissists that they do a lot is the sad story. The sad story that they are the victim. The way they act is not because they are bad. It's because they are the victim of something that happened in their life. A sad story. In my situation, this person, he basically, I know that he went through bad things, but it was more like, the way I do with other people is not because I'm bad with that people, or I'm not bad with people. I'm not trying to be cold. It's just that I was hurt by other people, and now I'm defending myself. When in reality, over time, you're gonna discover this person is a monster. Is a monster, because narcissists are monsters. That's the truth. So basically, they begin to create that story of they are the victim. In the case of the person I know, this person came from a broken family. He didn't have a father figure. He was raised by his mother, and basically he was a victim. Which in some way he was at some time, but let me say something. It doesn't matter what happened in your life. At the end, the decision of if you are a good person, a bad person, which I don't like to give that definition because I think all of us have good things and bad things. But at the end, you are the creator of your destiny. It doesn't matter how much trauma we go through, which can be really tough. At the end, just you are able to get a better life. Even with all the bad things or good things we could have, you cannot allow for other person to determine your life path. That's not possible. You need to understand that it doesn't matter what, we are the creator of our destiny. We need to be good human beings. It doesn't matter if the person that was behind you was treating you badly. You need to treat other goods, because you always gonna find good people in your life and bad people in your life. But I hope this helps to find, if you are meeting a person for the first time and you are noticing things that make you feel so weird, pay attention to it. Second of all, find these patterns of you feel that you are more a path to than a person who can be loved for who they are. And like I say, we're gonna continue talking about other topics. I'm not gonna go deeply onto what happened to me, but of course I'm gonna use things that happened to me to help others, and from there to bring different topics, especially about mental health and about life itself, and how to improve our life, how to be better, and how to able to go over obstacles that everyone have. I hope this helps you, and thanks for listening. Bye bye.